What's going on, guys? We're back in the garage, this time working on the Ducati. We're going to do an integrated tail light turn signal. We're going to add turn signals to the outside, and we're going to do a tail tidy. So 3-in-1 video here, tail tidy, tail light, turn signal combo. Here we go. As always, all of our parts are going to be down in the description, but just as an overview, we've got a tail light, a smoked tail light with integrated turn signals from Moto Dynamic. We have some Rizoma Action LED turn signals, and then we have Moto Dynamic tail tidy kit coming in at the same time. If you're doing this job, you also need to consider some block-off plates for your turn signals from Rizoma, and the appropriate hardware for both the tail light and for the turn signals to integrate them and splice them together so that you can have both the tail light and turn signal working in conjunction with all the Ducati connectors. So that's mounted like that. I got two of the bigger washers. Got this lined up this direction. And I'm gonna leave this snug, but not tight, because that'll get tightened down once we get the seat on there and make sure that it latches and that this hole is lined up correctly with where the seat needs it to be. So that's gonna stay just like that. And this is a longer bolt. It's the longest bolt in the kit. It actually is pulling double duty here. So that gets mounted up like that, and then this gets mounted up like that. So those longer bolts really need to be longer because it's pulling, I guess, triple duty at this point. So here's what you want. You want this mounted up underneath here. So this belly pan piece slides up underneath here, and you have to deal with bolts and these clear rubber tube spacers that go in between there and there to create a little distance. Then the bolt goes through right there, and you do that for all 4 corners. So it's going to end up on all 4 corners looking like this. What that means is you have to get underneath this whole bit here to be able to put these bolts in place. So I have to remove the license plate holder and this bracket, and potentially even the light, definitely the light, to get this mounted up. So I'm going to do all that, get it all fixed up, and then show you what that looks like, because I can't talk and figure this whole thing out with the 1 sentence of instruction for this entire step. Now, what do I not like? I do not like this gap right here. But for all I know, that might be covered up by the seat. So I'm gonna mock it up and see. That is an unacceptable gap right there. It's also not latching, but that's probably because I have this set up strangely. But yeah, that's about what it would be like if it was latched. That's not gonna work. We can't do that. What the fuck? I'm gonna figure this shit out and let you know. Okay, things I've had to change. I've had to move the lock spacer from above the cable bracket to below the cable bracket so that this mocks the thickness of the original plastic that this lock was mounted to, so that everything's lined up here. So I moved that down. Still haven't figured out this bit yet. Working on it still. Alright guys, so I've been fighting with this thing for about 3 hours at this point. And this doesn't happen to me very often, but I have to take a break from this and set it aside and approach this with a little bit more thought here. The reason I have to do that is because the instructions for the tail tidy are just not that good. And so I basically have to work my way through it on my own. I will also try to follow the instructions, but there's clearance issues with bolt heads and things that just aren't working out as they're described in the instructions. And the instructions are vague. I did a bunch of research online. I'm not the only one who thinks so. So I'm gonna clear off the bench here, take a break from trying to get this all assembled, and actually work with the wiring harness while I kind of take a breather from this whole situation that has emerged in front of me as I've fought with this for a long time. So let's do a reset and we'll come back with some wiring harness stuff. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I've got the wiring stuff laid out. I want to show you how I'm going to put it together here. I don't have it assembled yet, and then we'll go over some of the modes for this tail light, because this has an integrated turn signal. There's a progressive, and then there's just a half flash. So we're going to go with the half flash on the tail light, and we're going to have side turn signals as well, so everyone can see when I'm changing lanes. And I'll hook all this up, show you what it looks like over on the bike, and then we'll resume with the whole tail tidy thing. This thing has to be figured out and integrated into that tail tidy once it's assembled, so it didn't do me a lot of good to try to assemble it up front anyway. So this plug comes out of the stock tail light. This is the stock tail light, and it goes in to this joint here, the new tail light. This is the turn signals for this. You could leave these disconnected in theory, and then it just wouldn't have turn signals, right? You could just cap them off, put some heat shrink on, and then it wouldn't have turn signals. But I'm gonna rock turn signals, so I need this extension. This is a no cut situation. I'm not cutting any wires. I've got basically pigtails with Ducati plugs for everything, so. Some of this will remain unconnected or disconnected until we get it over to the bike. Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned that, but this is the stock wiring harness. So we're using stock wiring harness, and it's labeled here. So now this is a turn signal splitter. So we're gonna go again, blue to blue, yellow to yellow. Or this end comes from the stock wiring harness. Now, I don't know whether DX is left or right. I don't know whether SX is left or right. So I'm gonna Google it. Okay, according to the interweb, SX is left and DX is right. The thing I need to now learn is yellow or blue, left or right. So I have more questions than I have answers. Before I decide which is left and which is right, I know that SX is left and DX is right. I just don't know whether blue or yellow goes into which. However, I do know this one right here is the license plate tail light. This is the stock harness for the license plate tail or license plate light. So we're gonna just plug in the license plate light while we're at it. So what I'm gonna do is actually connect this bit here. This is black and white. This is red and black. So we're gonna go black to black here and then red to white. So white goes into red here. And then this one, now we have red and black here. Black to black again. And yellow to red. We haven't hooked up our final turn signals, these Rizoma turn signals yet. And we're not going to, we're actually gonna go over and test this on the bike. License plate light. So I didn't need to rip off this whole thing, but I did it because I wanted to assemble the whole situation on the bench, and I wanted you guys to be able to see what was going on. So otherwise, it was a lot of working underneath the tail. So I just removed the tail. This plugs in up here. And then we're just gonna make a guess here and say that blue is left and that yellow is right. Okay, so there's our tail light for the first time. See the brake on it? Ooh, flashing brake. Right on. Now we're gonna left turn signal and it flashes the right. And then we're gonna right turn signal and it flashes the left. So what did we learn, boys and girls? These aren't the ones that need to flip around. The yellow stays with yellow and the blue stays with blue. It's these ones that needed to flip around. So blue is now going to DX. Yellow is going to SX. Now, bike on. You have to take my word for it that I'm turning on the right turn signal on the handlebars. Left turn signal, which should be this side of the light. Right turn signal, which should be this side of the light. We've learned that SX goes to yellow, DX goes to blue. Okay. Got the plate mounted. Close this gap by just bending the bracket slightly to get the light closer to the seat plate here. Now we gotta mount these turn signals. So first I'm gonna route them and then I'm gonna mount them. So that's what fell.
What the fuck? God dang.
Subscribe. Yes. Yes. Just press the button. Eh? Subscribe.